The ranch feels different today. The air is heavy, the silence almost too loud. Heartland, once filled with Jack Bartlett's steady laughter and wise words, now stands in mourning. Every corner of this place carries his memories that will never fade, but also will never be lived again. Today, everyone in Hudson has come together, not for joy or celebration, but to say their last goodbye to the man who held this family and this town together. The gravel driveway at Heartland crunches under the slow roll of cars arriving one after another. It is early morning, but the sun feels dim, hidden behind a gray veil of clouds. From every door that opens, boots touch the earth, steady but weighed down with sorrow. People step out carrying flowers, roses, lilies, wild prairie blossoms, each one a symbol of love and respect for Jack. The scene is quiet. Even the birds seem to know something sacred is happening here. The ranch itself stands as if holding its breath. The big red barn, Jack's pride, towers silently over the guests. Horses in the distance shift gently, ears flicking, as though they too sense the grief of their caretakers. Every detail of this morning paints a picture of loss. The gates of Heartland, which once welcomed joy and laughter, now open for sorrow and remembrance. Neighbors from across Hudson walk up the long path toward the house. Some hold their hats against their chests. Others keep their heads bowed low, unable to look up, because to look up would mean facing the truth that Jack is gone. Children who once rode through these pastures under Jack's watchful eye cling tightly to their parents, their young faces filled with confusion they cannot yet put into words. And then there is the family. Lou steps down from her car, her arm wrapped around her daughter's. She whispers something, her voice breaking, but she keeps moving forward. Tim stands stiffly near the porch, his jaw tight, his eyes red from nights of holding back tears. Amy, though, remains still for a long moment. She places her hand on Spartan's mane before joining the others, as if drawing strength from the horse Jack loved almost as much as she did. And no words are spoken among the crowd at first. The silence is the only language they share, and it says everything. That Jack Bartlett was more than a man, he was the soul of Heartland. Without him, the ranch feels like a body missing its heartbeat. As the people gather closer, their footsteps soften. The sound of gravel fades into a hush, replaced only by the faint creak of the barn door in the breeze. A single table has been set with framed photographs of Jack through the years. Jack holding Amy as a child, Jack mending fences, Jack sitting by the fire with a soft smile. The pictures tell a story of a man who lived not just for himself but for everyone around him. Here, under the shadow of the ranch he built, the community of Hudson begins their farewell. And though no one speaks it out loud, each heart whispers the same truth. Heartland will never be the same without Jack. Grief wears a different face for each of them. For Amy, it comes as silence. She stands at the edge of the corral, the same place Jack once leaned against the fence to watch her ride. The wooden rails feel colder now, empty of his steady presence. Her fingers trace the worn grooves of the wood, grooves that Jack's hands had left over years of work. She wants to cry, but the tears refuse to fall. Instead, she stares into the distance, at Spartan grazing quietly. In her heart, she hears Jack's voice, soft, patient, guiding her even now. And though the world says he is gone, a part of her refuses to let him leave. Tim carries grief differently. His shoulders, once squared with pride and stubbornness, now slump under a weight he cannot shake off. He tries to stand tall, tries to keep the image of strength Jack always demanded of him. But his eyes betray him, red-rimmed, raw from nights he didn't sleep. He avoids looking at anyone for too long. Every time his gaze brushes against the casket, his breath hitches as if the sight itself cuts into him. In silence, Tim whispers apologies that no one else can hear. Apologies for every fight, every harsh word, every moment he failed to say thank you. Lou's grief takes the shape of motion. She moves quickly, almost frantically, adjusting flowers, straightening chairs, making sure her daughters are close. She cannot sit still, because to stop would mean to face the pain head-on. Her hands tremble slightly as she guides Georgie and Katie through the crowd, telling them, it's okay, though she knows it isn't. She remembers every time Jack stepped in to help her when she was overwhelmed. when she doubted herself, when life felt impossible. Now, with him gone, she feels the terrifying emptiness of trying to be the strong one without the safety net he always provided. The rest of the family stands in quiet clusters. Lisa, dignified yet broken, holds a handkerchief to her lips. Her love for Jack was steady, like the sun, never too loud, never demanding, but always there, always dependable. Now, she feels like the world has tilted off its axis. Mallory, though no longer a child, clutches the reins of her emotions, struggling between the innocence of who she once was at Heartland and the adult she's becoming. Even Georgie, hardened by her own life battles, cannot stop her tears when she sees the folded cowboy hat resting on Jack's casket. It is not only sadness that ties them all together in this moment, it is regret, love, and an aching gratitude. Each family member feels the same unspoken truth. Jack was the thread stitching them all together, and now, that thread is gone. They are left with pieces, trying desperately to hold onto the fabric of family he built. The silence between them says more than words ever could. Amy's clenched jaw, Tim's uneven breathing, Lou's trembling hands, all are chapters in the same story of loss. Around them, Hudson gathers in quiet respect. But within the family, the grief is raw, personal, and painfully intimate. And as the pastor clears his throat to prepare for the community tribute, one thought echoes in every heart. How do you say goodbye to the man who taught you how to live? The wind shifts, carrying with it the quiet murmur of the gathered crowd. It is not the sound of conversation, but of breath, soft, uneven, heavy with memory. The people of Hudson have come not as strangers, but as threads of the same fabric, all woven together by Jack Bartlett's steady hand. He was never a man who demanded attention, yet today every eye is turned toward him, every heart beating in rhythm with loss. The pastor's voice rises gently above the silence, not booming, not sharp, but steady like Jack himself once was. He doesn't speak long, because Jack would have hated long speeches. Instead, he chooses words as simple as they are powerful. About loyalty, about family, about how one man can shape the spirit of a town without ever seeking credit. His words fall like soft rain, sinking deep into those listening, stirring old memories. But the real tribute does not come from the pulpit. It comes from the people. Farmers, ranchers, shopkeepers, neighbors, each steps forward in quiet procession. One by one, they leave something beside Jack's casket. A worn leather glove, cracked at the seams. A child's drawing of a cowboy on a horse, its colors bright against the gray day. A lasso coiled tight, its rope frayed from years of use. Every offering is a story. Every item is a thank you too heavy for words. Even the silence is filled with meaning. Men tip their hats, women press hands to their hearts, children clutch flowers awkwardly in their small fists. There are no cameras, no performances, just sincerity. These are not people paying debt, they are people paying honor. Jack was the man who fixed fences without being asked, who offered advice without judgment, who showed up when others failed to. And then, as if guided by something unspoken, the crowd hums with movement. A local fiddler lifts his bow, drawing out a low, mournful note. It is not a hymn, not a song rehearsed for funerals, but an old tune Jack himself loved at town gatherings. The melody drifts through the ranch yard, soft and aching, carrying with it the warmth of bonfires and barn dances long gone. Faces wet with tears turn upward, remembering Jack not in death, but in life. Amy watches from the side, her hand still resting on Spartan's mane. The horse's ears flick toward the music, and for a moment, it feels as if even the animals recognize this farewell. Tim bows his head, Lou presses her daughters close, and Lisa closes her eyes as if she can still feel Jack's hand in hers. This tribute is more than ritual, it is testimony. Testimony that one life, lived honestly, can ripple outward to touch hundreds. As the last notes fade into the Hudson wind, the crowd does not clap. They simply stand, holding the silence like something sacred, as if Jack's spirit is still among them, listening, watching, smiling in that quiet way he always did. And in that silence, Hudson understands. Jack Bartlett did not just belong to Heartland. He belonged to them all. The sky has grown heavier by the time the family and townsfolk moved to the small hill beyond the ranch. It is a place Jack himself once chose quiet, looking out over the pastures he loved most. The earth there is freshly turned, dark against the golden grasses, waiting to receive him. The walk to the gravesite is slow, not because of distance, but because each step feels like letting go of something no one is ready to release. The casket rests beneath a simple oak, its branches stretching wide as if to shield the moment from the world. On top of the wood lies Jack's old cowboy hat, worn smooth from years of use, its brim slightly bent in the way only he wore it. It is not just an object, it is a symbol, a crown of sorts, for the quiet king of Heartland. The family gathers closest. Amy takes a deep breath, her hand clutching Spartan's reins. The horse stands solemn, head bowed as though he understands the gravity of this farewell. Lou holds her daughters close, their small hands gripping tightly at her coat, their eyes wide with both sorrow and awe. Tim places a hand on the casket, his shoulders shaking in a way he cannot hide anymore. No words come from him, only the kind of silence that carries everything unsaid. The pastor speaks briefly, but it is the quiet after his words that lingers. One by one, family members step forward to place their final tokens. Amy lays a small horseshoe she and Jack once polished together. Lou places an old family photo Jack at the center, smiling faintly, as if he knew this picture would someday mean more than words. Lisa sets down a single red rose, her eyes shining, her lips trembling as though whispering a private goodbye. Then it is the community's turn. Men and women who worked alongside Jack, who laughed with him, who argued with him, step forward with bowed heads. Hats are tipped, flowers are laid, children scatter wildflowers they gathered themselves. Each gesture becomes part of a living tapestry, a mural painted not in colors but in memory. As the casket is lowered, the sound of ropes sliding through Kelly's hands echoes through the stillness. It is a sound final, irreversible. A few sobs break free, but most remain silent, holding their grief in the only way they know how. The first handful of earth falls, a dull thud that seems to ripple through every heart. Then another, and another, until the grave is covered in not just soil, but love. Suddenly, from high above, a hawk circles. Its wings cut through the clouds, gliding strong and free. The crowd lifts their eyes, and for a moment, it feels like Jack himself is soaring, watching over the land he guarded for so long. Amy's lips curve into the faintest, trembling smile. The sign is clear. He may be gone from sight, but his spirit remains, stitched into the very earth of Heartland. As the family turns away, the sun breaks through the clouds at last, casting golden light across the ranch. It is as if the world itself pauses to honor him. And in that light, in that silence, the people of Hudson know that Jack's story does not end here. It lives on in the land, in the horses, in the laughter and tears of those he loved, forever. The day does not end with silence, it ends with a quiet promise. As the crowd begins to leave, the gravel drive once filled with mourners slowly empties. Their footsteps fade, their cars roll away, but their presence lingers in the air like a warm imprint. Heartland is still heavy with grief, yet beneath the sorrow lies something stronger, something that refuses to be broken. Amy walks back toward the barn, Spartan trailing gently behind her. The horse's hooves press into the soft earth, leaving tracks that seem to mark a new path forward. She stops at the fence where Jack once stood, where he gave her advice not with lectures, but with a glance, a nod, a quiet word when she needed it most. She rests her hand on the wood, the same way he did so many times before, and breathes deeply. The sky above is no longer gray but brushed with streaks of gold and purple. It feels like the world is shifting from mourning into remembrance. Lou remains by the house, her daughters close at her side. Georgie and Katie ask quiet questions Lou does not yet know how to answer, but she smiles through her tears because she realizes she doesn't need all the answers. Jack taught her that strength doesn't always come from certainty. Sometimes it comes from showing up, even when your heart feels broken. She whispers to them, "We'll be okay." And for the first time, She believes it. Tim lingers in the corral, staring at the horizon. His grief has not left, but there is something else in his eyes now. Resolve. He knows he will never fill Jack's boots, but he also knows he must try. For Amy, for Lou, for Hudson, for Jack. His hand grips the fence rail tightly, as if making a vow to the land itself. He will protect it, just as Jack did. The ranch breathes again as the evening light spreads across the fields. Horses graze peacefully, their coats glowing in the last light of day. A breeze stirs the tall grasses, carrying with it the faint echo of laughter. Jack's laughter still alive in the memories of all who loved him. Heartland feels changed, yet not broken. It feels like a book closing, only to open to a new chapter written by those who carry his spirit forward. Amy leads Spartan toward the open fields. The horse lifts his head, ears pricked, as though sensing freedom just ahead. Together, they walk into the glow of dusk, their silhouettes outlined against the fading sky. There are no words, no grand speeches, just a feeling, powerful and undeniable. Jack's lessons, his love, his unwavering strength, they are not gone. They live in every heartbeat of this land, in every step Amy takes, in every decision Lou makes, in every silent promise Tim holds close. The sun dips lower, and the ranch settles into night. Heartland stands not as a place of endings, but of beginnings. Jack Bartlett has left this world, but his legacy rides on, carried forward by those he loved. And as the stars begin to shine above the wide Hudson sky, one truth remains. Jack may no longer walk these fields, but his spirit will forever guide them home. Night has settled over Hudson, but the story does not end in darkness. The stars scatter wide across the prairie sky, their cold brilliance casting a silver glow over Heartland Ranch. In the stillness, there is a sense of watching, as if Jack himself remains, unseen yet deeply present, guarding the land he poured his life into. Inside the house, the Bartlett family sits together, not speaking much, but simply being near one another. The fire crackles low, its light painting shadows across the walls. On the mantel above, Jack's old pocket watch rests beside a faded photograph of him as a young man. The steady tick of the watch fills the silence, each beat like a reminder. Life continues, 1 second at a time. Amy finally breaks the silence. She doesn't speak of loss, but of lessons, how Jack taught her to listen to the horses, how patience often said more than words, how love was not always loud but steady and enduring. Lou listens quietly, tears rolling down her cheeks, while Tim leans forward, elbows on his knees, lost in thought but softened by her words. Even in their grief, they realize Jack has not left them empty, he has left them prepared. Outside, the community also feels his absence, but in a different way. The general store keeps a picture of Jack near the register. The local bar plays his favorite country tune on the jukebox that night. Farmers talk of him while fixing fences, speaking his name with both sorrow and pride. His legacy spreads across Hudson, not in grand monuments, but in small, quiet ways and gestures, in stories and the values he instilled in every soul he touched. At dawn, Heartland awakens again. Horses stir, the rooster crows, and the frost begins to lift from the fields. Amy saddles Spartan, riding out into the open pastures where Jack once rode with her. The wind brushes against her face, carrying with it something she cannot see but can feel. His encouragement, his belief in her. She knows she is not alone. None of them are. Jack's strength is in the soil beneath their boots, in the sky above their heads, in the heartbeat of every horse that runs across the land. As Spartan gallops forward, Amy rises in the saddle, her silhouette framed against the rising sun. Behind her, Heartland stands firm, no longer shrouded only in grief but in resilience. Jack may rest beneath the earth now, but he lives in the choices they make, the land they protect, the family they refuse to let break apart. The story of Jack Bartlett's funeral ends here, but the story of his legacy begins anew with Hudson, with Heartland, with every person who carries his memory forward. And so, even in goodbye, there is no ending, only the beginning of a life lived in his honor. Every story leaves an echo. Jack Bartlett's echo is not one of silence, but of strength, love, and unshakable presence. Though the day of his funeral brought sorrow, It also revealed something deeper, the truth that his life was not defined by its ending, but by the countless beginnings he created for others. Heartland stands tonight not as a place of loss, but as a monument to resilience. The barn still holds the scent of hay and horses. The pastures still stretch wide under the open sky. And within those familiar spaces, Jack's spirit lingers not as a ghost, but as a guide. In every sunrise, Amy will hear his encouragement. In every hard decision, Lou will recall his steady counsel. In every challenge, Tim will feel the weight of Jack's lessons pressing him toward courage. The people of Hudson return to their homes carrying more than grief. They carry responsibility. They carry memory. They carry the warmth of a man who taught them that community is built not through grand gestures, but through the steady, everyday acts of kindness and grit. Jack was never the loudest voice in the room, but he was always the one who showed up. And that, more than anything, is the legacy he leaves behind. The ranch may seem quieter without his footsteps, yet it continues to breathe with life because of the seeds he planted, seeds of family, loyalty, and love. Amy's bond with Spartan, Lou's devotion to her daughters, Tim's stubborn fight to be better, Lisa's quiet strength, all of it traces back to Jack. He was the center, and even in his absence, that center holds firm. And so, though Jack Bartlett has been laid to rest, he is not truly gone. His story is stitched into the fences he mended, the horses he rode, the family he guided, and the land he cherished. His voice will rise in the laughter of children. His wisdom will echo in the wind that sweeps across Hudson, and his heart will beat forever in the spirit of Heartland. This is not an ending, it is a beginning where love becomes legacy, and where memory becomes strength. Jack's chapter has closed, but the book of Heartland continues, each page carrying the mark of the man who shaped it. And as the final image fades, the wide ranch under the starlit sky, one truth remains unshaken. Jack Bartlett may no longer walk these fields, but he will forever ride with them, guiding every step, every choice, every moment of life still to come.